Okay, our next guest is Janel, and she'll be sharing her story of answering the call to Timor, a life-changing expedition. Now, when I first met Janel and she shared with me her story, I was mind blown. Like, my jaw just dropped because I couldn't believe that she went through those experiences. And for her to share it so visually, I mean, you will understand later when you hear her share her story. Because on the outside, she was living this life that seemed like a dream to many. She was granted an expat position and attained multiple awards in her creative and marketing career of, I think, close to a decade. And while social media portrayed what seemed like an amazing and privileged life, traveling often, her peers could not tell that beneath all of that was a lot of challenges. They were challenging third world struggles and a drastic shift in cultural livelihood, which she had to carefully navigate when she moved to East Timor in 2017 to 2018. And in a span of approximately 2 years, she witnessed the unsettling effects of political unrest, like government cars and local homes being set on fire. Her partner, who was caught in the middle of a crossfire gunfight, and she suffered from food poisoning 4 times, the last one being so potent that it took her months to recover from a local parasite infection and reduce her weight to 37 kg. With all that she had undergone, it is through answering her soul's calling to head to East Timor despite the potential risks that brought her a sacred gift of complete life transformation, one that initiated her to rediscover her purpose and reconnect her to a true authenticity and meaning in life. She's now a thriving, fully self-employed solopreneur, soulpreneur. She wanted soul, S-O-U-L-preneur, for 4 years now as a psycho-spiritual life coach and multi-dimensional healer. She's going to share with us her life-changing story from her East Timor chapter and the power of letting your inner compass and courage guide you to achieving the life of your dreams. So without further ado, can we please have Janel on stage? Hello! Oh my gosh, you look like a goddess. This is so beautiful.
Thank you for having me.
Hello!
Really
How do you
happy
feel
to be
being here?
Really honored. Yeah, I think I've never expected to share this story in the public space. Only because I think it was very hard to vocalize this experience, and I was really happy that I met you, and then we connected, and this is how it all came out. And I think it's really the right time that we are here to share this story.
This is the first time that Janel is sharing her East Timor story publicly. She has never shared this on social media before until this very moment.
Yes, that's right. So I'm really privileged.
And we are very honored. Truly. Oh, how was your life before East Timor?
So before East Timor, I was actually in the creative industry for about 8 years.
Wow.
Yeah, for about 8 years. And I was really hustling like crazy, because I think those of you who have friends, or those of you who have familiar experience working in the advertising or creative industry, it's non-stop. Your in-trays and the inbox just keep coming in with KPIs, with tasks to do. So there was one point I worked up to 20 hours a day without sleep.
Oh my.
Yeah, just like 20 hours a day, and then
Wow.
you go back, you sleep for 1 hour, you go back to work again. So it's kind of like just hustle life, you know what I'm saying? For 8 years, and it was really detrimental to my well-being. Yeah. But I thought it was my passion. I thought, inverted commas. Yeah.
How did you then realize it wasn't? Or did East Timor happen first?
So 8 years I've been in the creative industry because I went to an art school. Art was a very big passion of mine as well. I've always loved the arts, creative arts, performing arts, visual arts, all kinds of arts. I was very connected to art. There was I think for Jonathan, he also mentioned like creative expression and fulfillment is a very powerful thing. It helps you to like express yourself differently. So that was a part of my life that I embraced, but I think in the context of the local scene, it just felt too intense or too demanding, and I thought I thought this passion of mine had to go somewhere, as a designer or working for different types of agencies. I was like, this must work out, right?
And you were doing so well, right?
Yeah.
You were getting awards.
Yes. I was actually climbing. My portfolio was building up. I was working in very, very big companies, big brands, and I gained a lot of experience from my creative work. And East Timor was basically my peak of my career.
Okay, so share with us how you eventually even took the job to East Timor, and what were the struggles in saying yes to it?
Okay. To be honest, everyone said no. Everyone said no to going to East Timor. I remember at that point of time, I actually had a job offer. A client actually kind of poached me over to start a new job, and I was very excited. I signed a contract already. I was about to start the job in January when my then boyfriend, he actually shared with me that he had a promotion and he's going to he has an offer and an opportunity to go to East Timor back then. And I was very excited for him. I said, yeah, go ahead, it's a huge opportunity, to venture out of the local scene to work, and I was just like a full-on yes, just go first. And then he asked, okay, like what about us? Because we've been dating for about 3.5 years, and we've talked about, like settling down and all that. And I didn't think so much about it. I said, I think I'll find a way to join you there. And eventually he was like, how? I said, we'll figure it out. And then he said, actually, my boss was saying that if in future you might be able to fly over to just assist the startup, right? The startup of the office and stuff like that in terms of admin work. And I told him, why don't we just have a chat with your boss? Being very like
gung-ho.
very gung-ho about it. I was like, why don't we have a coffee chat with your boss? And that boss is actually a very busy boss. He's like a boss of 7 companies,
Wow.
7, 8 companies, and he doesn't really have a lot of time. But being so gung-ho, I was like, why don't we have a coffee chat with your boss? And he was like, are you sure? I said, yeah, let's do it, and then we arranged for that. And that happened. And so surprisingly, what happened during the time I met the boss was that I was given an offer there and then.
Wow, like on the spot.
On the spot. Yeah.
You must be really good.
I think my marketing level was like...
And you had so many years of experience.
Yeah, I basically had turned the coffee chat into like an interview.
Wow.
I mean, of course, it wasn't planned, but that happened, right? So, and I think he was also very interested in my portfolio, and he requested for it. And after seeing the portfolio and after showing the team what I've done in terms of my advertising and agency work, they were like, actually, we have a position opening for you.
So when that position was given to you, was it an easy yes?
I went dumbfounded for a while, and I told him, I need to bring this back to my parents. My mom is here actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
She's like my biggest fan. So I told them like, okay, wait, hold on for a moment. I need to bring this back to my parents.
Yeah.
And not being a married person, we were still dating. Yeah. And I said, okay, I need to bring this back home. So after I brought it back home, the first thing that my family's response was, they were actually really worried, because who knows where East Timor is on the map?
I don't even know.
Okay, there's one person here who knows where East Timor is. Okay, so it's such a foreign land that a lot of people don't even know where East Timor is on the map. Okay, so just if you do a quick Google search, Google East Timor is actually along the Straits of Indonesia, and it's right above Australia, Darwin. Yeah, so it's quite close to Darwin, but it's also on the left of Indonesia. So back then, East Timor was the youngest 7th country in the world, and it was probably only 16 years of independence. Yeah, very, very new country.
Why was your family worried? Like, what was the impression of East Timor actually?
Was a post-war country. Yeah, there was a lot of unsettling. The infrastructure was not there. It was a post-war environment. Sanitation was so bad. And there isn't a Singapore embassy there as well.
Wow.
Yeah, the local language is something that you completely would not understand. So there was just so much risk involved, you know, and people have heard a lot of violence on the streets there as well. So naturally, who on earth would want to head to a place like that, right?
Yeah.
In Chinese, they say 是一个鸟不生蛋的地方.
Like nobody knows where that is. It's like, where is this place?
It's
even?
so foreign. It's so recluse. You know, and they were very, very worried because we don't even have news of East Timor on Google.
Yeah, and I suppose that probably your family was telling you to not go, right? Maybe they're saying just stay here, be safe.
Yes. So riding on that, at a point of time, my sister just got married and she moved out of the house. And then I dropped this news to my mom and my dad. And my mom started bursting into tears. She was like, "Oh no, you're going. Don't go to such a dangerous place."
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I would too.
Yeah, she was so emotional, and I haven't even told her that I would go. But naturally, she just felt like me being a free spirit, I would say yes. So she broke down and she started crying, and my dad was also very concerned. Him being a ancient dad, he was like just very worried. No, he's not saying a lot of things, but body language, you could tell it was not a yes. Yeah, and my siblings were also very worried.
Yeah.
All of my friends were saying no, like, Janel, please don't go. We cannot risk having anything happening to you. My close girlfriends were like, no, please don't go. We don't want anything to happen to you. Yeah.
And well, with all of that, what was it that made you say yes? I mean, everybody around you was saying no, so and you've never even been there. Like, you don't even know the place.
So looking back, I think it's really it's really bizarre just looking back. At that point of time, I remember feeling a lot of anxiety because there was just so much resistance to this decision. The whole world was telling me no, and there was just so much, like, mentally, there was just so many, logically, there's just so many risks involved. Being a woman, going over to a third world country without any kind of news, like, I don't even know how to report something where, like, there's no police station, there's no emergency, no Singapore embassy, like, and you don't even speak the local language, right? So what happens if you are in danger? Anything can really happen to you. So there's just so many factors in my mind telling me that, are you sure this is the right decision? Yeah. And I took a while, I think about a week, to really just sit with it. And the loud yes in my heart was consistent. It was, you just need to go. Like, if this opportunity felt like a once in a lifetime experience, and if you don't say yes, it's like there's no saying no. Something like that.
It was something inside you that felt so strong that just nudged you to say yes.
Yeah.
And
it's like yes is the only option.
Yeah, I feel like all of us would probably have felt this at one point in our life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, everything around you is like telling you no, but deep inside, or everybody around you is telling you yes, but deep inside you're saying no. Like, basically the complete opposite of what the environment is telling you.
Yeah, exactly.
And it takes a lot of courage to listen.
Yeah, it's going against all forces, like going against all odds. There's so much resistance around you, but it's about coming back into yourself and saying, okay, what is it that I really want for myself?
Yeah. Well, now that then after that you said yes to East Timor, and could you just share a bit about your impression of the place, and like, how was your journey there? How was your 2 years there?
So eventually I came back to my family and I said yes, and then my mom cried again. Poor mom. Yeah, she was very emotional. But I said yes, and I think eventually everybody knew that they respected the decision, and they just said that, if there's anything, we're here for you. So within 1 month, I packed my bags and I flew with with my partner to East Timor. And during that entire 2 years, I remember, on hindsight now, I think it was an experience where I was really, really immersed and being on survival mode a lot of time. Because firstly, the safety. Singapore is so safe. It's probably the safest country in the world. And you move to a place that's completely unsafe. It's the other spectrum, all the way to the other end of the spectrum. And for 2 years, I remember just waking up every day, being on my toes, you know. I couldn't go anywhere alone. It's a little bit like Papua New Guinea. I couldn't go anywhere alone. I had to have people accompany me wherever I go, just for my safety. And I tried being alone for a couple of moments, and I got harassed on the streets.
Oh my god.
At night, I can't walk alone anywhere. It's completely dark. I can't head out like a woman having freedom. So I had to have people around me all the time. So I lost my sense of freedom and my comfort zone and my safety. And then there was also political unrest at that period of time when I was there for more than a year, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, there was no government. Guys, there's no government in a country for more than 1 year.
Wow.
Never in my life have I heard about, you know, a country not having a government for more than 1 year. So there's just riots.
Yeah, I can imagine with no government.
Yeah.
And people being upset.
Yes.
Like what I shared during the intro that you shared with me, right? Like government cars being set on fire, crossfire gunfights. Like that is something that is normal there.
It's actually a norm there. Like every other week, we do not have newspapers, you know. So we hear our news, right, through the local people who spread wildfire. That was
gosh, like kampong.
Yeah, that was the kampong spirit. They spread news. We hear news from our local staff, and that was how we get the news. So, and in one day, actually, everyone will kind of like get the news through word of mouth. And again, it's also a way where you have to question yourself, like, is this news real? You know, like you can't guarantee if it's real, right? It's a hearsay. But what you have to do is to trust that it's really happening. So every other week, we would hear of not traveling through this road because there's a riot here, or not traveling through this road because there are houses set on fire, you know, or there are just there are just roads in the city that we have to avoid because there are tension areas.
Yeah. How did this entire experience of being there for 2 years, experiencing these sites, like being in an environment where you need to be on your tippy toes all the time, like never feeling truly safe, how did this impact your life and what you're doing now?
So I think I've mentioned the word safety throughout this entire East Timor chapter, and to me now, being a psycho-spiritual coach, right, safety is fundamental to everyone's baseline of well-being. If you talk about everyone's livelihoods, safety is so fundamental, because safety is where everything starts to be birthed, or you know, it's a conducive environment.
Yeah.
And from my experience, whether it is anything you do, you know, it could be having a conversation with a friend. How safe are you? You know, going into a new environment. How safe are you? You know, or being in a workplace. How safe you are in that workplace. So again, it's all about safety and security. Like, you know, the Maslow hierarchy of needs.
Yeah, safety and survival is important.
Yeah, the safety and survival is
Did
fundamental.
the East Timor chapter showed you the importance of safety, and that's how you kind of bring it into the work you do as well?
Yes, completely, yeah.
I think we because we're in such a safe country, right? Sometimes we look past it and we don't even realize just how important safety is.
Yes, we take it for granted.
Yeah.
Yes.
But many people don't have a safe space to share how they truly feel as well. Like, yes, Singapore is very safe, but in my personal experience, sometimes we might not feel the safest in sharing our emotions because everybody feels very, I mean, I guess there's the expectation of being all put together and being in this hustle culture, needing to, you know, figure things out. So maybe there isn't safety in sharing emotions, even though there's literal safety on the roads.
Yes,
right? So there's a
yes.
different kind of
There's a
safety
different
they're seeking for.
Aspect of safety. For example, if you are, so focused on productivity and so focused on working and producing results, then that's the goal and that's the focus. But we also forget sometimes, like for example, in the medical sector, doctors and nurses and caregivers, they work so hard because they are really frontline workers. But sometimes they also forget to give themselves a sense of safety to process what is really happening in the operating
I think we
theatre.
all need that,
Yeah.
to take a pause and give ourselves that safe space to just be as a human. And I want to go into a last question for me, and that is, how did this entire East Timor experience lead you to your purpose and your calling today?
Okay. I'll try to summarize it as much as I can because it's a process.
Yeah, and it's a long story,
but
of course you can share more on your social media and we'll follow that too.
I think the main thing would be, I started to see clearly that even though I had everything, I had an expat package, I had it felt like I had everything in my life, and friends were really envious of me. I was winning awards for my job, but inside I felt very miserable. Something felt missing, and I think all of us experience this at some point of our lives where we feel like, why is it that there's still something missing? Why is it that I'm still not satisfied? Why is it that I'm still not happy? Why? And when you start to question yourself why, then that's where you start to go deeper. Yeah? And you start to realize that whatever that you are living might not actually be aligned with what you truly want for yourself. And that's the first step, to know what you don't want, right? And that was when I started to realize that chasing KPIs wasn't what I want. Having awards and climbing my creative industry wasn't exactly what I want. Having an expat job wasn't what I want. All of this perspective of what I thought was success wasn't actually fueling me inside. And that was how I realized that, hey, there are so many people in East Timor who are living in poverty. They have no jobs. There's 90% of unemployment there, but they are truly living life so happily because they are so present. They're so contented. And I was thinking to myself, why am I hustling so hard? And I started to realize that it's about what truly brings you happiness. For them there, just having a meal is happiness. And I asked myself, what is happiness for me? What is my purpose from there? And that was how I reconnected to my soul purpose of choosing to embark on a path that eventually helps people in my line of work. And that was how I also went back to my childhood aspiration of doing like psychotherapy.
You wanted to do that earlier.
Yes.
However, you mentioned she mentioned to me before that you didn't get the grades to pursue it.
Yes.
And hey, we went full circle and now you are pursuing it even more. And maybe that's just how the timeline was supposed to be, right? You needed to go through what you needed to go through. Today's theme is that's what makes you beautiful, and I think through the pain, the struggle, there is beauty in this becoming, there is beauty in all this self-discovery, and sometimes we need these challenges in order for us to be in that state where we see so clearly what we're meant to do and what our passion really is.
Yes.
And your story really does exemplify that.
Yes.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Janel,
you.
for sharing. I really appreciate you for sharing your
It's been such a
journey.
pleasure to be here. And thank you everyone for listening.
And of course, do follow Janel on Instagram, and she has 2 free resources for us as well, and they'll be shown on the screen, the QR code over there. Go there and take a look. And also, if you have any questions, do follow her on Instagram. She shares really, really vulnerably, and she shares her insights as well over there. And I'm sure she'll be happy to answer any other questions. Thank you so much. Bye. Thank you so much for sharing. Round of applause for Janel.